What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back, everyone. This is Lee, and yes, today we'll be taking a look at the Sirui 85mm 1.4 versus the Nikon 85mm 1.8s. So with all that said, let's begin. So right before we get started, I just want to point out that Sirui, they did send this lens over to me for evaluation, and as usual, all opinions are my own opinions about the product. So with all that out the way, let's take a look at some price. So the Nikon 85mm 1.8s is roughly around 800 USD, but for the holiday price is 700 USD, whereas the Sirui is at 600 USD regular price, but at the holiday price is 500 USD. So throughout this entire video, you guys need to decide if that extra $200 is well worth it on the Nikon. So with the pricing out the way, let's take a look at some quick specs. So the Sirui versus the Nikon. The Sirui comes in at 1.4 versus the Nikon 1.8. We're looking at 15 blades versus 9 blades, 14 elements versus 12. Now the Sirui comes in with one aspherical element, 2 ED elements, and 3 HRI elements, and a fluoride coating, whereas the Nikon comes in with 2 extra low dispersion glass, 1 nanocrystal, and a super integrated coating. Now they both have 67mm filter thread, and with that out the way, let's take a look at some features. Now the first feature we'll look at is the weight. The Sirui comes in at 607 grams, whereas the Nikon comes in at 518 grams. Now as we take a look at the lens hood, you'll notice that the Nikon lens hood is slightly longer than the Sirui, whereas the Sirui is slightly wider than the Nikon. And as for the features of the lens, the Sirui comes in with a autofocus and manual switch, also with an AFL button. Also on the other side, you'll see that the lens sports a aperture ring where you could declick and click the aperture ring, so that's great for photo and for video. And if you take a look at the rear of the lens, you can see the weather resistant and also the USB-C slot where you could update the lens. And as for the Nikon features a huge focus ring and also an autofocus and manual switch on the side. And on the rear of the lens, you can see the weather resistance. And if you want to update the lens, you'll go through the camera body. There's no USB-C slot for this. Now with all these pricing, specs, and features out the way, let's take a look at some tests on these lenses. Now as for the first test, this is the bokeh test. Already at the higher aperture, you see that the Sirui's bokeh is bigger than the Nikon, and also more rounder than the Nikon, and also more smoother than the Nikon. That's just because of the 15 blades on the Sirui versus the 9 on the Nikon. So that is very interesting on this particular test. Now as for the vignetting test, I will have to say that at the higher aperture, the Sirui at 1.4 has slight vignetting, but at 1.8, the Sirui is better than the Nikon when it comes to vignetting. And all throughout the aperture, I will say that they're more or less even, but definitely leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Now as for color fringing, color aberration, I will say that during this particular test right here, my aluminum roof, I didn't see any on either lenses. I wish I could report something, but I honestly don't see anything at all when it comes to color fringing in either of these lenses, so that is pretty good in my book. However, you know me, I'm going to try to find something for you guys. So what I did later on after this test that I did 3 or 4 times, I went home and I put together a chrome setup, a silver setup. I just, you know, did my own set dressing on these particular items, and still none of these items showed any sort of color fringing, chromatic aberration, nothing. It just seems to be just fine. However, as I look through my junk folder where all my failed tests would go to, I noticed that according to this failed test, as I look at these vines, I noticed that you do see slight chromatic aberration on each of the lenses if you're shooting right in front of the sun on a background of a white cloud. So I just want to throw that out there. This is not really side by side, even though you do see side by side. I was on the phone for like 20 minutes and I threw this test away because the whole, you know, environment changed, and stuff like that do happen when I'm doing my test. And as for the next test, this is the flare test. This is me shooting directly at the sun on this semi-cloudy day. I will say though, that the Sirui has a rainbow effect in its flare, whereas the Nikon has a splattering effect on its flare. So it depends on what you're looking for. And since this was a cloudy day, I want to show you guys another flare test. And again, I do see the slight rainbow effect on the Sirui, whereas the Nikon do have slight splattering effect at the end. Now, as for distortion, the Sirui comes with a pin cushion distortion, whereas Nikon, the distortion is well controlled. Now, for this next test, this is the compression test. This is me 12 feet away from my object, and I would have to say that while doing this test, I do notice that the Nikon comes in slightly warmer than the Sirui. Sirui seems to be slightly neutral, cool in that way, so just want to throw that out there. It seems like that throughout this entire test, but this is the compression test, so definitely look at the background blur and see which one do you guys prefer. And here is another close-up of the same subject. Definitely take a look at the background blur. I will say that the Sirui do provide slightly more smoother bokeh blur than the Nikon. Nikon seems to be not as smooth as the Sirui. So yeah, let me know your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Also, again, the Nikon seems to be slightly warmer than the Sirui. So just want to throw that out there, but definitely leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think in this test. And here's me getting even more closer to the exact same subject. Definitely look at the bokeh blur in the background. Let me know what you guys think. But overall, I'll be quite honest, I would have to say, I think the Nikon is slightly warmer than the Sirui, even though we're looking at the compression of the background. But yeah, I think Nikon is slightly warmer than the Sirui. Just want to throw that out there. But let me know about the compression. Let me know what you guys think down below, because I'll be quite honest, you know, you can't go wrong with either one, but I think the Sirui might be slightly more blurrier than the Nikon. And here is the extreme close-up and the extreme blur that you'll have from both lenses. And yes, I would say that the Sirui will offer you guys a better bokeh blur experience than the Nikon. Nikon do not have the creamy bokeh like the Sirui, and that is very cool to see from a third party. And as for the landscape test, this is me photographing the center of the image where you see the bush. Now here is the left side of the image, and I will say that the Nikon is sharper on the edges over the Sirui. I think it's roughly around, I believe around like f11, where I believe that they kind of even up. But definitely leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. This is 100% on the left side. Now, if we're looking at the foreground, I will say that it looks to me like I think the Sirui might be slightly sharper than the Nikon when it comes to foreground. Well, center to the foreground. Let me know your thoughts. And yes, again, f11 looks like everything seems to even up, it seems. And here is the right side of the image, and I will say that the Nikon seems to be slightly sharper than the Sirui when it comes to edge performance. I think around like f8, f11 is where things sort of like evens up. So that is something for you guys to definitely take note of, but definitely leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Now here is the center of the image, and I do notice that from the center to the foreground, the Sirui seems to be more focused than the Nikon, but from the Nikon, from the center to the background, looks more in focus than the Sirui. So it's either, you know, give or take at this point, but dead center wise, it's pretty good on both lenses. They look very even, which is pretty good for landscape shooters out there. They're shooting it at 85mm. Now, last but not least, here is the portrait test. This is going to be very long, but this is 1.4 versus 1.8. This is at 100% close-up. You could pause and freeze your video to see the difference between each of the photos. Definitely leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. This is 1.4 versus 1.8. I will say that Sirui is just a slight tad softer at 1.4 versus the 1.8, just a tad, right? But still usable. You could definitely jack up the sharpness in post, but this is straight from the lens. So just keep that in mind. Now here is 1.8 versus 1.8, and as usual, definitely hit pause and examine the image yourself. This is 100% close up, and I will say that either lens would do just fine, but in terms of like overall sharpness, I believe Nikon might be just a teeny weeny slight sharper than the Sirui. Not by much in my honest opinion, because you could definitely, you know, fix that a little bit in post, but they look very close actually. But definitely leave a comments down below, let me know what you guys think. Now here is 2.8 versus 2.8. Definitely hit pause and do as close up if you guys want, but all honesty, they look both pretty good. I think that the Nikon might be slightly warmer than the Sirui, slightly brighter than the Sirui in terms of like overall image. But yeah, let me know in your comments down below. We're just pulling hairs at this point. My God, remember, keep in mind, this is a $200 difference. So let me know if you guys are willing to spend $200 more for one or the other, or less than one or the other. Now here is 4.0 versus 4.0, and yeah, I do believe that the Nikon might be just a tad brighter when it's exposing my face, and it's slightly warmer, I think. Definitely the color tones are different. So with the exact same settings, you're getting slightly different images. So there we go. Let me know what you think. Look at my pig face right there at 100%. I will say that, man, they look way too close. Even some of you guys that do a lot of editing, I know what you guys are thinking. I could probably sharpen it up in post by like 10% and call it even. And let me tell you, you are correct. that is the magic behind photo editing right there. Now here is 5.6 versus 5.6, and while you guys are looking at this close-up at 100%, let me ask you guys, does the pin cushion on the Sirui make my face more, I guess, ugly or no, or attractive? Let me know down below what you guys think. I want to know what you guys think, because I'm asking for someone. I'm asking for myself. But in terms of like lens quality, my goodness, we're living in such a amazing time, guys. We're just pulling hairs at this point. $200 worth of hair. There we go. 200 bucks. Which one do you guys rather prefer the most? Let me know in your comments down below. And here is f8 versus f8, and yeah, I wish I could say that there's a huge difference, but we're just, you know, pulling hairs here at a $200 price difference. Yeah, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Man, I hate this close-up. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry guys. I wish I could hire a model. I hate to keep using my face for you guys, but at least you guys can see all my imperfections on my face. And here is f11 versus f11 as usual. Definitely hit pause, examine the photo, let me know what you guys think. And by the way, if you guys made it this far, this is a Nikon Z8 45 megapixel right over here. So yeah, that's something that I kept at the end of the video, where I tell all my followers to actually watch the video throughout the small details. So there we go. Thank you guys for tuning in this far, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. If I was to do my own face, I would probably take the Sirui, just because I don't want all my pores to stick out like that. I don't want all that craziness. In fact, I think that the post-processing might be slightly different when the lens is too sharp or when the lens is too soft. So it's really up to the person that's doing the post-processing. There we go. And last but not least, f16. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know which one you guys prefer. I don't really have, much to say, except if you're a Nikon fanboy, you'll definitely get the Nikon, obviously. But if you're just looking for an 85mm, the Sirui is yeah. We'll get to it in the conclusion after this. Let's just talk about it after this particular sample. But definitely take a look. At my face and hit pause and see the difference. And don't forget to look at the hoodie and stuff like that to see the fall off of the sharpness. And if my lips is that chapped or not. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. Let me know. I would love to hear you. I would love to hear your thoughts. So just wrap things up, the 85mm 1.4 Sirui versus the Nikon 85mm 1.8S. Let me just put it this way. It's $200 difference. It's really up to you guys to decide if Nikon is worth that extra $200. It's really up to you guys to decide that, because with $200 difference and the samples that we saw, I mean, a lot of the issues that both lenses may have, you can fix that in post, right? Distortion, you can fix that in post, right? The slight sharpness difference, you could fix that in post. However, maybe the edge sharpness you can't, but center sharpness you can, right? Just a tad, right? In other words, I think the Sirui is probably the best bang for the buck and a better choice than the Nikon. So that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts down below. I would love to know. But with all that said, thank you guys for checking me back. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely click like and subscribe. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Take it easy. Peace.